I'm Esma Gumberidze. I'm 30 years old, from Tbilisi, Georgia, one of the eastest points of Europe. I was graduating from specialized school for the blind, where obviously I didn't feel that different from other kids, and I was not super exposed to the sighted world. And then I graduated with the bachelor's degree in law from Tbilisi State University. Initially, I wanted to be involved in politics, I would say, since my childhood, since my teens, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to go to law school. And but when I went there, well, first of all, when I graduated from my high school and started college, I was told by my family that it's not nice if I start talking publicly to everyone that I want to be engaged in politics, and I just should not talk about this publicly, and just start with some civic activism, NGO work, and so on. And when I went to university, I saw how people were not interested in my opinions about international relations, legal affairs, or anything else, but except for disability, except for how did I manage to get to university? How did I manage to pass the exams? And these things were quite obvious for me, and I didn't think that these are a big deal. I was thinking, yeah, just like other young people, but people wanted to know more. And I realized that unless public awareness is raised about blind people and disabled people, I won't really be able to move forward. So I started writing about my experiences. How do I do these exams, that I use screen reader, that I can move around with my white cane and within the university building, that I know Braille, and this is how I read and write. And then I started getting involved also on a policy level, contributing to some action plans or providing my comments on draft laws, on bills, on laws allowing blind people to sign the documents independently. I pushed for Marrakesh Treaty to be ratified by Georgia so that blind people have access to books in a PDF or Word format, which were not accessible before due to the copyright issues. I never had a stable job. My longest contract was for 13 months. And when I still was in college and university, I applied for a temporary job as a translator, well, in a language service, where there were different tasks that we were supposed to perform, including things that required a lot of running around, which I couldn't do. But they were hiring a lot of people who could. So these duties could be distributed in a way that I would be maybe answering phone calls more, or emails, or doing verbal translations. So there could have been work for me, but when they found out that I was blind, they said, we will call you later. And of course, they never called. And I didn't think about complaining because I didn't have time. But then I was attending a training conducted by the Helsinki Foundation, Helsinki Human Rights Foundation, Warsaw Division, so by the Polish human rights defenders. This training was on CRPD, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And I shared this example, and they said, if you want to ever have a job, you must complain. And I went and complained to the Ombudsman's office, the Public Defender's office, who is monitoring human rights situation in Georgia, including disability rights and CRPD oversight. And they unfortunately did not say that it's discrimination then, because according to our Georgian national law back then, denial of reasonable accommodation was not considered a form of discrimination. But they recommended to the parliament that they should adopt this legislation and these laws, and eventually, let's say 4 or 5 years later, it was declared by law that denial of reasonable accommodation is indeed form of discrimination. When we talk about balancing personal and professional life, and what, let's say, the decision makers, the governments do for this, I would say nothing. That's a short answer. The longer answer is that we don't even, as disabled women, we don't even have a political or professional life quite often. And we also don't have personal life quite often. So there is nothing to balance, to be quite honest. I personally, I think I don't have any personal life because I went to do the yoga only because the trainer wanted to learn how to do this with blind people. I I am asked on the street, on the bus stops, about my diagnosis, about how do I get around. So I have to explain myself everywhere. I was on a date, and the guy left me in a room for a few minutes, and I started moving around, walking. And when he came back, he was so surprised that I was able to take few steps around the room. So I'm public awareness everywhere again, unless I'm fall asleep somewhere. So yeah, there is no recreation. There is in the restaurants, in the opera, everywhere I have to self-advocate. And unfortunately, yeah, the government activities, we don't have enough accessible environment. The bus stops. So when I go from a protest, for instance, I board the bus and it does not announce bus stops. And I have to call the transport company and complain that it does not announce the bus stops. And they have to or talk to the driver, why does it not announce the bus stops, and maybe take a video or do some sort of fight and fall into exchange around this, also with some other passengers who don't understand why do I make so much noise about this. Yeah, and what do I want to tell blind women, blind young women who want to join politics is, don't be afraid of saying this out loud, that this is what you want, because in a way you program yourself when you say this, that you are headed in that direction, and join the party as soon as possible, so that you already can start raising awareness there within the party and make yourself relevant, let's say, to the party. And yeah, my voice and my another message and motto is, what really doesn't make sense is to sit and don't do anything. Everything else makes sense. Every attempt makes sense. We regret mostly things that we did not do. And yeah, together for gender equality in Europe. What happens in Georgia right now, with the government introducing all kinds of repressive laws, forcing NGOs, the civil society organizations that receive more than fifth of its funding from abroad, to register as foreign agents, and that all the donors, before giving a grant, have to negotiate and get approval from the government, from the Anti-Corruption Bureau, on this. Of course, all of this also affects disability community, because disability community receives a lot of funding from abroad for all these advocacy efforts, and we also lose our allies, people whom we could address if we needed to file a court complaint, and the court applications are not accessible for the blind person to fill in. And this is one reason, for example, why I cannot work as a lawyer, is because it's gonna take me days what sighted people can do in hours to fill the court applications, and this will not make me competitive, obviously, on the market. And this issue, of course, it's a big backsliding on our rights, even in comparison to what we had, let's say 2-3 years ago. And we are not we're not invited to consultative councils anymore. There was some on the government level, which has not been working since 2024.